Alright, hello everyone. Today we have the Fell Bullet Yisang as well as the Princess of La Mancha land Rodion. For Fell Bullet Yisang, this character here is quite simple to explain. It's actually going to be kill your ally to get massive value, but there's another option to it, which is just gain a bunch of poise with this ego. So the ego itself wants to kill your ally. You will target the ally with the least HP. You get the Torn Memory mechanic from the other Fell Bullet, which is Heathcliff's one, and you also gain poise for every X Torn Memory. So it's basically the Torn Memory mechanic copy-pasted from the other Fell Bullet. And how this ego works is that the first coin will hit the main target. It does more damage for every Torn Memory, so it really is trying to kill your ally. And if you manage to kill them, then what happens is that you get to apply poise to self and two allies. You get ego resources for skill 1, skill 2, and you will be able to hit all enemies with the second coin. What happens if you fail to kill is that you will gain only poise for yourself, and you only can hit one target besides your ally. So you only hit two things essentially. And you also deal X% more damage on crit for every Torn Memory, and you get on crit inflict bleed with this ego, right? This ego, you want to ideally get a bunch of Pride Resonance. You ideally want to kill the ally that you're shooting at. But this ego has another interesting thing about it, which is the ego passive, which is next. After attack, if the target is killed, you will gain poise count. So because you're getting a bunch of poise when you pop this ego with Pride Resonance, which is very, very easy in the poise teams, and then we also have the ego passive, which gets you poise count on kill. This is actually a pretty solid combo for the poise characters such as Blade Lineage Yisang and P-Quad Yisang. Both of them really don't mind getting more poise and poise count, and they really are always used in a Pride Resonance team. Either the Blade Lineage Assault gang or the Ahab gang, or maybe a little bit of both of them. Right? For this Yisang, as long as he gets poise count, he's a happy man because he gets a bunch of coin power plus ones on every single skill, and then he also has Blade Lineage Masot, giving him even more poise count and poise potency, so that he will just do a crazy amount of crit stuff. So yeah, it's a very, very great option with this character over here, and I believe it only fights with Dimension Shredder Yisang for the slot, so it's really a very easy swap in for that slot. And then this P-Quad First Mate Yisang, this guy just likes to get a bunch of poise so that he can crit a lot, and if he gets crits, he gets to reuse this coin up to 3 times, and for ambush, he gets to on crit inflict plus 6 bleed count, which is still very, very solid. And this character also will inflict more bleed potency with a skill 6 times per turn if you are able to crit. So yeah, this ego here can fuel both of them pretty well. It just depends on the numbers that I'm expecting to see here. And since most of the content in the future is clash battles, this ego passive here makes a lot of sense just to give yourself more poise count. So once Yisang starts building out a bunch of poise count, he gets stronger, he keeps killing, he keeps killing, he keeps killing, and boom, he's able to build out a bunch of poise count. He will just keep critting, and with Blade Lineage Masol buffing him, he will be unstoppable in a clash battle. That's what I'm guessing. And then for P-Quad Yisang, it's just a solid buff for a very solid ID already if you're able to crit. Okay, so that's the simplest way to explain this ego here. I'll have to wait for the actual numbers though to see if this ego is actually going to be good, because this ego, just by looking at this, it's a bit hard to tell whether it's actually going to be worth it. It's a he ego, so the cost is going to be quite high. We just have to see how much poise count, how much poise we're getting, and how much ego resource as well as poise we are getting, and how much damage we can deal to 7 targets. The good thing about this ego is that if you do kill the ally, you are hitting literally every single enemy. So the trade-off would have to be very worth it if you just want to get the ally killed. And if you just want to use this ego for the ego passive, then you can straight up ignore the on kill effect for everything here, because that means I'm popping this ego just to get poise for the Torn Memory and just to get poise count for the passive. So yeah, this ego has 2 ways it can go. Just have to wait for the numbers to actually see how I will use this ego in the future. So moving on, let's talk about the main star of the show, which is the Princess of La Mancha land Rodion. This character here is long. There's a lot of words. There's a shit ton of words, but the most important words to look at is, look at this: rupture count, bleed count, rupture count, bleed count, and rupture count, bleed count. So we have a lot of shit over here. I think we know that this attack here is going to be AoE already. We've seen it in the boss fight, we saw it in the trailer. The interesting thing is that this attack doesn't have any requirements to get the AoE, which is quite interesting. This attack seems to just by default always hit multiple enemies. There's no like gain attack weight or anything like that on this attack. So it's really, really cool. This is just straight up going to be an AoE attack by default. And this guard skill is also a clashable counter. I did mistake this as the enhanced skill one, so you guys corrected me. Yep, it is going to be the clashable counter. Okay, so what is this character actually going to be, right? This character is more or less a support. She is going to be a decent applier of the Rupture Bleed Count stuff. She is going to be Rodion, which means that she has the Sanguine Desire Ego. By the way, elements-wise, Lust, Envy, and Pride, which means Lust, Envy, and Pride, all of them are here. Very, very good stuff, which means that she's basically a core unit for Bleed no matter what, just because she's Rodion, right? Sanguine Desire is a very, very important ego for the Bleed team, and this character will also be applying a crap ton of buffs to BloodFiends. If your ally is a BloodFiend, prioritized BloodFiend, they will also get additional Blooming Thorn, and you will also give all of these allies Blooming Thorns. The next skill 2 will be apply attack power up, apply Blooming Thorn, and prioritize BloodFiend, apply additional attack power Blooming Thorn, and then for skill 3, it is just to all and yourself, other allies based on resonance. You will apply Festive Fever, and Festive Fever will buff their damage if the enemy is bleeding, and will buff their damage if they consume or gain Blood Feast with their skill. And this, yeah, is just really, really good synergy. It's just a very, very strong support. It's very similar to the actual boss fight with the BloodFiend trio, where Dulcine's job in that team is to just buff the other two, and also do a bunch of annoying unbreakable AoEs onto us in order to feed the other two, and if they snowball, then you will basically lose the fight, right? So this character is functionally the exact same as the boss. You will just be applying a bunch of buffs at combat start, and you will be applying a bunch of count, and you will also be healing all of your team, and you will also be giving them even more buffs and AoE shit, and just enabling the rest of the BloodFiends. So yeah, this character totally fits it, especially since we have Sanguine Desire, and Sanguine Desire is like the king of enabling all blood related mechanics, just because no bleed count will be consumed for that turn. They also fixed a pretty major bug in the previous patch, where Yearning McCallum Assault would override Sanguine Desire Rodion. So after they fixed that, now it is going to be the core ego for all the bleeding teams, pretty much. Okay, so after all of that said, right, this character here is going to be a 2 coin, 3 coin, 3 coin. So I'm not expecting insane amounts of damage. But the fact that she's giving so many buffs and so much count, I am expecting some pretty damn decent application of Rupture count. I'm hoping for 5 or higher, because the boss fight, I think it was 6. So please just give me 5. Because if you look at the other BloodFiends, right, their application of the bleed count is like +1, +2s. If this is actually +1, +2 bleed counts again, I'm going to really hard. Because holy shit, man, like, please give me a very strong source of bleeding counts somehow, right? I really hoped that she would have more options besides that for the bleed count. But if you look at her other stuff, right, like Blooming Thorns is basically the boss mechanic copy-pasted. It is a bleed and rupture potency application. When you get hit, you will inflict bleed against the attacker and lose a stack. For Rodion herself, she gets a special mechanic where she can enhance the Blooming Thorn, and she just grows the spikes on her umbrella, and she will inflict more bleed and rupture potency with her attacks. And it will revert to previous stage when the stack drops below requirements, whatever. Festive Fever is just all of those buff stuff, and I really wish that this was Rupture count or Bleed count instead, but I hope to compensate for it not being here, it will be here instead. So please front load all of my counts and give me a bunch of count application. Another thing to talk about is the counter is very cool, because the counter, you will actually cleanse your 2 allies with the highest bleed potency and count, and you will increase your Blood Feast. And this will be by the pre-reduction amount. And if the effect reduces to 0, the bleed will expire. And if it's a BloodFiend, you reduce it even more. And if you Clash Wind, you gain Blooming Thorn, and you also have bleed and bleed count. This guard skill, right, actually helps you to basically strip the bleed off of your very, very bleedy Gregor, who likes to bleed himself a shit ton. Right? You can just make him keep bleeding, and then you just keep popping the guard to drink the blood that the Gregor is bleeding. So it's really, really quite interesting, because that means Gregor's not going to take that much damage, and you will be still increasing your Blood Feast, and that is just a net positive. Unless you really want to nuke your Gregor, then feel free to nuke your Gregor first, and then after he's been nuked, then you just drink the blood that he has so that he doesn't really kill himself. But even then, Gregor is pretty much a very, very tanky character who's very hard to die. And if you add this character, right, he's going to basically not die. The Hard Bloodthorn, when another ally takes bleed damage or consumes Blood Feast, this unit gains Blooming Thorn, which is good. All of the other BloodFiends will bleed themselves or bleed or consume Blood Feast, right? So it's just really, really good stuff. And this character here will heal HP on self by X% of damage that with base skill. So she has innate lifesteal, and at max HP, she heals one ally with the lowest HP percentage by excess healing. So now we have a healer to heal Gregor and also cleanse him of the bleed count. So that means that Gregor can legit just face tank shit. And if they apply bleed onto him, even better, he gets to bleed even more, and then Rodion can go and suck him dry with the guard skill over here. So it's pretty cool, right? This is a very good support ID design. Doesn't look super strong in terms of damage output just because of the coins being a bit limited. But the fact that the skill tree by default is going to be AoE, right, is already going to be a very strong skill no matter what, and it will be inflicting a crap ton of rupture count, bleed count, and rupture bleed, rupture bleed. The sad part, right, is that the rupture count is at the start of all of these skills, which means that you will be getting some minuses from these. So if you use skill 2, you'll be rupture count, and after that minus 1 and then minus 2. Or if you have some rupture count already, then it's minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, which is going to suck. Right, the rupture count being at the start means that you will have to be like 3 or 4 in order to be neutral or positive for this character, since she doesn't have the special line of don't consume rupture count. So I don't know how much rupture or bleed count they want to give me for this character to actually like apply a bunch of it, but at least they gave me an ID that feeds Sanguine Desire, so if I do have to spam the shit out of Sanguine Desire, at least I will be able to with this character here. And if you want to use Gregor as the main blood bag for the entire team to drink, I think that's also quite an okay way to do it, because that means that it doesn't really matter how much bleed count I'm building on them. As long as Gregor keeps bleeding himself, I can keep sucking him so that I can feed all of the BloodFiends with the Blood Feast. So I don't know how they want to do it. We'll just have to wait and see the actual numbers on the day itself. Please 5 or higher so I can have some funny fun with the bleed team. But yeah, whatever the case is, this character is 100% used in the bleed team for sure. Just because of AoE, rupture bleed count, and also being able to give all of the buffs to the BloodFiends, and also giving all of the BloodFiends additional ways to like apply more bleed and deal more damage with the Festive Fever. Okay, so that's going to be it for this, I think. Rodion is pretty simple to understand. Great support, great damage, great design, 2 big reasons to pull for her. And yeah, everyone's going to be getting this character no matter what. Even my friend who just started the game, I told him not to go for the BloodFiends. He's just like, nah, I'll get the BloodFiends. And I'm like, alright, you do you. So yeah, everyone's getting this character for sure. Okay, so things to talk about team comps wise, I think so far we have 4 BloodFiends in total, right? No, I think we only have 3. We have Barber, we have Priest, and we have Dulcine, and then after that we'll get Dawn, which will make 4. So with 4 BloodFiends, we have 2 options for the last 2 slots. I'm guessing it's 100% going to include Red Eyes Ryoshu, and then for the last slot, I'm thinking a Massault. I'm really hoping for a Massault ID in some shape or form. I want to see something like a blood bag Massault, you know, like Massault's team is like he has a lot of tank IDs, you know, so like a blood bag Massault would totally fit. And then you just give it like a guard skill with Lust, and I'll be able to trigger Lust Resonance at will, and I can use Yearning Makala Massault. Like that would be really, really good. I really want to use Yearning Makala Massault, which is why I want to use a Massault, but this is generally the best Massault that you can get, I think. And the issue with this Massault is just that you need to build up the charge count. I think there is one ego that you can use to speed it up for Massault. I haven't really theory crafted this one super hard, but I think Electric Screaming gives him charge count. It does. Yeah, so you can actually use Electric Screaming to supercharge this guy, and then after that you can inflict a bunch of bleed count with the skill tree over here, which is also going to be quite a solid amount of bleed count, because it's legit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6 bleed count in total. Skill 2 applies 2 bleed count. It's just a really, really solid option. And she also tanks for you, and your Rodion will also heal you, and this is a Massault Rhino ID, and this guy is like giga tanky. Not as tanky as Gregor, because Gregor has like stupid healing, but it's still going to be a very solid ID. I don't know lah. This Massault is okay for the bleed team, just not like the best. I want a blood bag. Give me a blood bag, or give me like any ID from Assault. I don't know. They could go like super hardcore with the cook here with Assault. But then again, they did give him Sank Assault, so maybe he will not be getting another ID. I don't know lah. I don't know. In terms of team com wise, we do have one slot, and I do want Yearning Makalam Assault. So I'm hoping some other better option just fills in this slot here. But I guess it might not be too bad to use Rhino Assault for now lah. Okay, so that's going to be it. If you have your own theories and stuff, feel free to just drop it down in the comments below, and that's going to be it. If you want a summary, it is just this one is going to be for Pride Resonance teams who wants to build up a bunch of poise. There's no bullets in this one. The ego itself just does a bullet-like animation, but there's no bullet mentioned here because Solemn Lament Yisang already has automatic reload, so he doesn't really need that. And for Rodion here, she's just going to be a very, very solid support, and we're going to get another $1 billion, and we're going to hit like 1.7 mil on Sensor Tower again. I can't remember the last year's number. I mean the last month's number, but whatever. Okay, that's going to be it. Thanks guys for watching. I shall see you guys next time. Bye-bye.